Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, welcome. I'm starting to start sentences with hey as opposed to so, and I don't understand why we can't just jump in and start a sentence. I mean, I'm even amazed at seeing on a short form kind of communication like Twitter, where somebody will start, instead of just making a statement, they'll say, so, and I thought it was a verbal tick. And that suggests otherwise. Strange. Anyway, hello. And welcome to yet another show on a flawless, meteorologically speaking, beautiful Wednesday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is June 23rd, to be precise. Speaking of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I just read a story. And I don't know if this has been covered on local news, and it made me think I should force myself to watch local news so that I have a sense of what it's covering these days. But I'm sorry, that's just a bridge. Is it a bridge too far? It's something too far. I can't do it. So I don't know if you've heard this one. This was in the... I think New York Times today. And the reason mentioning Pittsburgh made me think of it is it's about a guy who lives right near here. I'm sure when he's asked where he's from, he says Pittsburgh, but he lives in Carnegie, which is what? 6 miles from Pittsburgh. This guy, and I want to get his name because you need to know about this guy. Randy Frazzanelli, 65 years old. This is a bad guy. And that is not slander because I got the proof right here in front of me. Oh, although, yes, it is alleged. He hasn't been convicted yet. He's just been arrested and then arrested and then arrested. This guy stole from all of us. He took money that was intended to alleviate the pain, financial and emotional, of so many people during the pandemic. This guy, when the federal government decided to give loans to businesses who were potentially on the verge of collapse, they gave these PPP loans, right? And this was so that they could keep their employees and we wouldn't have this domino effect of people losing their jobs and their businesses. This is something the government should have done. What we now know is that the program was just horribly doesn't do justice to how lousy the performance of this plan was, relief plan. Because so many people who applied for relief, who needed relief, didn't get it. And a lot of people, always first in line, who didn't really need it, and they scored. And one of them was Randy Frazzanelli of Carnegie. He took advantage of this opportunity to enrich himself. He claimed businesses he didn't really have. On paper, he had them. And he applied for loans for this business and that business and this business and that business. And the guy hauled in $2.5 million. $2.5 million. Let's see, what did he do with them? Did he keep his employees? He didn't have any employees. He bought a Mustang. That was just for starters. Then he bought a BMW. And then because, a guy can obviously drive 6 or 7 cars at once, he got a Porsche and then 2 Mercedes SUVs. After that, when the cars started piling up, he moved into gold bars and silver coins. And as the FBI has now said, because his case is now in the federal court system here, he appears to have not used 1 penny of these millions for any business expenses or to maintain any payroll. And the article goes into some depth about how he pulled this off. And he pulled this off because the people who were supposed to be paying attention in overseeing this program weren't. Simple as that. And after the feds had raided his home on Lindsay Road in Carnegie, and they had seized 4 bank accounts that he had used on his loan applications. Even after the feds had their hands on all of that and he knew he was on their radar, what did the guy do? A month later, he submitted another application for a PPP loan. And guess what? 2 weeks later, that loan was approved and he raked in another $1,340,000. And while out on bond on bank fraud charges and money laundering charges that were lodged against him, he submitted a 6th loan application in May. He desperately needed another $500,000 plus a few tens of thousands from the Small Business Administration. His small business being defrauding the federal government. So I guess to get you up to date here, on Monday, he was arrested again. See, now, if this were a poor person, a black person, minority person, he'd be in jail all of this time, right? So he's a white guy from Carnegie, so he gets arrested, he posts bail, he gets arrested, he posts bail, he gets arrested, he posts bail. This dance goes on for months, in, out, in, out. How is that possible? Monday, 2 days ago, he was arrested again. I don't have a clue if he's in or out at this point. I'm sure he's out. The white guy. The article says, boy, it is not immediately clear why the first 4 loans were approved. It is also not clear why Mr. Frasinelli was approved for a 5th loan after the feds began investigating him, nor how his 6th loan application was tentatively approved after he had already been charged by criminal complaint with bank fraud. I want to know the article, as far as I know, is not telling me who's giving him this money, because don't they go through just banks, right? Banks are overseeing this. Unbelievable. Or not. So I had just seen that when the show started. I had to let you know. Oh, God Almighty! And speaking of the extraordinary wheels of justice here in Western Pennsylvania, the show was on hiatus during the kerfuffle involving the Allegheny County District Attorney, Mr. Zappala. And I'm so sorry, because I really would have loved sound off on that. Somehow it seems to have blown, no one's saying anything, it's blown over. But the voters in this county, this is on them for sleepwalking to the polls year after year after year, and in a stupor, voting for incumbents, voting for names they know. And God knows Zappala's a name they know. He looks good. Silver-haired, nice-looking guy, defender of the law. Man alive. He is, without a doubt, biggest roadblock and the largest problem in getting justice in this county. And he's the guy at the top. I don't have to, I think, go back and talk about what he did, but he is so drunk with power and feels so untouchable that he actually put out an office email forbidding any of his underlings, those are the guys who actually go into the courts, the prosecutors, from engaging in any plea deals with one lawyer, a black lawyer who represents black, a black lawyer who had denounced the system as systemically racist in court. That's all Zappala needed. So he singles this guy out and says that anybody he's representing can't get a plea deal. That's Allegheny County justice under Stephen Zappala. Obviously, a large outcry occurred. Many calls for him to resign. And he sits still in power because this seems to have had no impact at all. Never really apologized. He, in fact, has doubled down. People called for him to resign. He just waited it out. So I bring that up because another story that I read today, this was in the Tribune Review, is that the president judge, oh man, don't tell me I don't have it. I did have it. I don't have it. The president judge of Allegheny County, I believe, has put out an open letter saying that she wants to see reform of the racism that is systemic in the justice system here. In putting this out, she didn't in any way mention Zappala. Why, I don't know, but I suppose not to poke the hornet's nest. She didn't mention Antoine Rose. She didn't mention anything specific. She mentioned George Floyd. That didn't happen here. So I don't have a lot of hope about where that's going. But I just want folks to know that we have had, as residents of Allegheny County, the ability to jumpstart this kind of reform, and we have failed. We, the people, have failed because of our sleepwalking into the polls and our knee-jerk voting for incumbents. I know, tell that to Bill Peduto. For that matter, let's move. Tell that to the incumbent, 16-year incumbent mayor of Buffalo, New York. As you know, New York City had its primary yesterday. All those folks running. Andrew Yang will not be, it appears, the mayor of New York. But other cities in New York State had primaries, mayoral primaries, and one of them was Buffalo. And that, too, is a city in which, I mean, almost every city now, whatever Democrat wins the primary is almost a shoo-in for the mayoralty, because the Republicans don't represent people who live in the city. They have decamped to suburbia and rural areas, as you know. But there was an upset, apparently, because a black socialist woman appears to have won. India Walton. And she's unabashedly socialist. She's not a democratic socialist. She's a socialist. Bernie Sanders. And the people of Buffalo threw out a 16-year incumbent mayor and gave her the nod. If she wins in November, and again, odds are great that she will be the first socialist mayor of a, I guess, what am I going to say, a substantial American city, a large American city, since Milwaukee had a string of socialist mayors in the 40s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, I think. I'm not exactly sure about all that, but yeah, I think so. So, you know, there is a restiveness in the electorate now, but it needs to be harnessed, and it needs to be known, and it needs to stay very much alive heading into 2022. I saw a tweet right before the show started. I was doing a lot of stuff before the show started. And it said, I don't know why all these stuff was here. God, I hate this. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Shouldn't hate, but I really do hate the email system at City Paper. It is just the worst. Things don't come, things disappear. The other day, a lot of you had sent in emails. And, you know, when I got them, about 15 minutes after the show, I looked at when you sent them. You'd sent them 45 minutes earlier. So I want to apologize, as I want to do, for the system that I have to work within here. Always the cheapest. it's always the cheapest. Oh man. So what was I saying? Or I started griping again. Damn it. I totally forgot. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, a lot of the stuff I had here has disappeared. Oh, it was the tweet. And it said something to the effect of, let me try to find it. It said something like, Democrats, I'm not going to be able to paraphrase it, but it was so right on the money, because it was about the seeming naivete of Democrats always. I'm Joe Manchin, that's your cue. He wants bipartisanship with the Republicans. As if. So the only thing that matches the naivete of so many Democrats is just stone cold cynicism of the Republicans. I started calling Republicans shameless maybe 20 years ago. And what the hell did I know? I couldn't even begin to imagine their capacity for shamelessness. Couldn't begin to imagine. So there's all that. And it's really hard to watch the sausage being made, or actually no sausage is being made anymore because of the Republicans. But it's really difficult. I used to really pay attention day to day on legislation, what was happening to bills in committee, what people were saying. And you know what? I don't anymore. I don't have to, because it's all it's a foregone conclusion. Everything dies when it gets to Mitch McConnell. And because there's Democrats who think that somehow he and his Republican sheep are somehow reachable and willing to engage in the job that they were elected to do, which is called legislate, not obfuscate, not oh God. Okay, let's not get started. You know what I'm doing today after the show? I'm going and purchasing a cemetery plot. That'll sober you up fast. Seems like a beautiful day to do such a thing, but that's what I'm going to do. You know, it's one of those things on your to-do list that's been on the list for, 15, 20 years, and you just keep avoiding it. Somehow, if you don't buy a cemetery plot, you'll never die. I don't know what it is. And now I'm thinking, if I buy the plot, I'm going to die. It's like I'm enabling it. But I am. I'm going to. Might have a good story to tell you tomorrow. I don't know. I'm going, my head. God, my head goes careening from place to place. It's very, very difficult being in my head. So I'm really, God dang it. Okay. My contempt for the Republicans and for that matter, anyone who votes for them, is so real, intense, and unmovable, so certain. And I'm somebody who generally doesn't like people being certain. I think it shows a certain kind of hubris, because there are not many certainties in the world. But there is an obvious certainty now in our country in this time. And that is Republicans are a clear and present danger. The continuation of this democratic experiment. And they will spare no principle, nothing, to maintain power in a country that frankly doesn't want them anymore. They're using the structures of our country, of our institutions, of our governance. They're using them like the cynics they are to maintain a power that the people, frankly, don't want them to have. If you look at all of the measures that they have stonewalled over the last year, all of them are bipartisan outside of Washington. They are. Every poll shows that Americans want election reform, want this infrastructure bill, want so many of the things that Democrats are trying to get accomplished. These are all popular with the people. They have bipartisan support in the country. But the country is not represented in the Congress. I don't know what we're going to do about it. It's scary. And it's why on a daily basis, I'm not watching anymore. Because I'm not naive. There was, let me see if I can find it. Of course not. Here it is. There was just a line I read in a piece on the Washington Post. I'm so sorry that you have to end up listening to me, oh, yes, this, that, because things that I think I have access to somehow are not there. No, I guess I don't have it. God dang it. I'm so sorry. This is not good. I'm just yeah, okay. Seek answers on whether. No. What it did, I'm so sorry, is this here, this might be it. This might be it. It's under the headline of Senate Republicans block debate on the elections bill. Okay. This is what I want. So the vote yesterday, we find out that this effort to pass this election reform, to create a bulwark against these cynical Republican legislators, these cynical, undemocratic Republican legislators trying to pass these onerous, just flat out, clearly onerous and unconstitutional ways to keep people from voting, because that's the only way Republicans can win, and they know it. In order to win, they have to make it so hard for people to vote that people don't. And some of the stuff they're passing gives them the power even after the vote, if they don't like the result, to change it. I kid you not. Dark, dangerous stuff. So Mitch McConnell had all his sheep lined up yesterday, and they voted in a block, 50 of them. And the Democrats actually managed to vote in a block, 50 of them. Now, you could ask, well, wait a minute. The vice president is a Democrat. Couldn't she have cast the deciding vote so it was 51-50 and the Democrats win? No. Because that would be the case if you had an institution that actually valued democracy, instead of the Senate of the United States, which has cobbled together more ludicrous anti-democratic laws and rules, so that the vote yesterday was not on the substance of the bill. The vote was merely a vote to debate the bill. It was a vote that said, we're voting whether or not we can take this bill and move it here to the floor, where we will do, again, what our job is, which is to, debate legislation and then vote on it. The Republicans won't even go that far. They stopped things from even being given the air be argued about, let alone passed. So because of the arcane, undemocratic rules of the United States Senate, this is not in the Constitution. That somewhere the Senate decided that you needed 60 votes before you can argue any legislation. And so even if Vice President Harris had cast her vote, tie-breaking vote, they're still 9 short. So the voting rights measure that the Democrats want to pass and would pass if majority ruled, cannot even get debated, can't even crawl on its hands and knees to Mitch McConnell's Senate floor. There's not a super majority willing to let it see the light of day. Nothing will ever get done here. They filibustered it. The filibuster. All of these rules. Which is why, I mean, again, if you're paying even nominal attention, your heart sinks. Because you don't see with Joe Manchin, cinema, what a piece of work. I've been reading more about her. She wants to be the next John McCain. You know, that famous picture of her screwing up, I forget what measure this was, another one where she voted no, where she flounced, literally, flounced into the Senate chamber and right up to the desk and did a little thumbs down with a curtsy and then turned on her heels and flounced out. It didn't occur to me at the time. But what she was doing was channeling John McCain's famous thumbs down when he saved Obamacare. She fancies herself. And in so doing, McCain, of course, just pissed off all Republicans who, have been dying to destroy Obamacare since its inception. And so Sinema now has this idea that she's going to be John McCain, only she, of course, will then do the bidding of the Republicans so that she can be a maverick. These people. Sorry. I'm sorry, I don't know. Hey, here's some, again, changing the subject. Here's something I've been thinking about. And I didn't do any research because I'm lazy. But it seems to me that an awful lot of people who've gotten the Nobel Peace Prize almost immediately after turn out to be despots. Am I remembering this right? I mean, it just seems like people who we herald, who get the damn Nobel Peace Prize, maybe a decade later are hauled into the Hague for crimes against humanity. I'm exaggerating slightly there. But it seems I keep reading this stuff, and I'm wondering if the Nobel Peace Prize people want to take a little break, and maybe give it over to how they sometimes pick an animal to say who's going to win an election or pick the odds of something. The prescient platypus will decide who is. We do just as well, I would think, in handing out the Nobel Peace Prize leave it to the platypus. And I'm thinking specifically right now, the two that are coming to mind are that Sun Young Ki, I could never pronounce her name, that lovely woman who spent so much time under house arrest under the Myanmar government and then somehow managed to, she got the prize. She was lauded. Everybody thought of her as the most courageous, wondrous, extraordinary woman. Then she gets power. And absolutely lets the Rohingya massacres go. I don't think the Rohingya who were slaughtered and displaced under her would have signed off on the Nobel Peace Prize. And now, of course, she's on the outs again because the military role again. And then there's a guy in Ethiopia. Maybe you'll remember him. He was, oh my God, this guy was, I think he won it a few years ago. Now he is waging this horrific civil war in Eritrea. He is a killer. And it made me think, because I read something about Daniel Effin Ortega of Nicaragua the other day. He has been president of that country for a very, very long time. But I am so old, I remember when he was the revolutionary, when he was the beleaguered man of the people, fighting courageously his government, supported by the evil United States. And so the left in America, they so love this guy. I got to tell you, lefties swooned at Ortega. He was our hero. Oh, yeah, this was the guy. Any of you old lefties out there want to tell me how great Daniel Ortega is now? Because he prevailed eventually, and the revolutionary became the president. And he is one brutal son of a bitch. I'm just saying. That all came to me when I was thinking of certainty and who we throw our support to and who we praise and who we admire, often with very little information, just our hopes and dreams. And how so often, if we continue to pay attention, those hopes are dashed. Those dreams turn into nightmares. And do we ever revisit? I haven't heard a lefty say boo about Daniel Ortega in 15 years. Sort of like the meteorologists that never apologize. Oops, guess we were wrong about that guy. Bad for all the people who are dead. Whoops, guess we were dead. Must have been wrong about her. She was so pretty, too. Well, that's the way it works. So, just a thought. Here's something else. Did you see that the Saudis who murdered the journalist Jamal Khashoggi? Did you see where they were given training? Okay, I'll give you one guess, and the first one, doesn't count. What? What is it? So now I'll give you one guess, and the first one doesn't count. That doesn't make any sense. I'll give you two guesses. What is that phrase? I'm telling you, I'm losing my mind. As you get old, and this is very, very unsettling, and start buying cemetery plots. Sometimes the failure of your brain to remember idioms, you feel like an idiot. I'm just saying. So, the United States State Department approved the contract to give these guys special training in, I believe, Arkansas. Oh, yeah. That's where we trained them. It's amazing. So there's a place in Arkansas that trains people how to dismember people with a bone saw and then disappear them. That is pretty astonishing. All right. Just saying. And if anybody is writing me, I'm not getting. Oh, I got one. I was saying I'm not getting any of your emails. I did get this, Lynn. You know what the most despicable thing? Oh yeah, thank you, Lynn. You know what the most despicable thing about what Sinema did was? That's right. In that little curtsy, she gave a thumbs down to the $15 an hour minimum wage. That is right. That's what it was. This is a Democrat. God. Despicable. Thank you, Lynn. Truly. And I do have a Oh yeah. Wait. Hang on, caller. This is no. This is a no-brainer. The Supreme Court has upheld the Pennsylvania teen who, the cheerleader. We've talked about this. Who was punished by her high school, knocked off the team for a message where she said, fuck cheerleading, fuck this, fuck that. And it was done off. And the Supreme Court has said she was within her rights. I love that. That was a slam dunk. And that's another case, an ACLU case. Okay. We've got 2 callers now. Let me go to the phone. Hello.
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 Hello. I was trying to think, can you name the leftist in the United States?
Wait a minute. I can't hear you. I got to get my. Okay, go ahead. Can I name what?
The left, anyone on the left who was supporting Ortega 15 years ago in the United States.
I don't know. I haven't
why
seen
do
any
you keep talking about that? You say that every time you bring him up.
Oh,
so were there
every time I bring him up?
Yes, you do.
When's the last time I brought him up?
I don't know, a few months ago, or maybe a year ago.
No,
I
or
remember.
Maybe 5 years ago. Yeah.
No, within the last year. I don't know.
Me. Okay.
Hey,
Daniel
who talked
Ortega.
about the School of the Americas? Who always talks about the School of the Americas that I've never heard you mention? Is it the people on the left?
Why are you so defensive?
Because you do this every time.
Why are you being so defensive?
Tell me what Republican doesn't classify you as a leftist.
Well, of course, but they classify,
So why do you consider yourself so separate and superior with this when you do that?
Because I don't belong to any group, ever.
To you, not to most people. You're on the left with the rest of us. You might not have known about the School of the Americas.
I'm on the left. I am no lefty. I'm a good
according to you, not according to anyone else.
Not. I'm a good old-fashioned, out-of-date liberal. That's what I am.
Which is the left, which is the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Says who? You.
Says anyone who has been breathing in the United States for the last few decades. So just because no one supported
Ortega, you are saying that the Republicans get to define us.
So you believed Ortega should have been removed from office by Reagan and the death squads were okay in Nicaragua in the 80s? And what does that have to do with anything in the last 15 years of Nicaragua?
Why so defensive? I'm just saying.
Because of the ridiculous things you say.
What I am pointing out is how when we throw our love and admiration towards
in 1982.
Someone, and they turn out to be monsters. Do we ever really come to terms with that or acknowledge it? A lot of people would say the same about Fidel, right?
A lot of people say the same about Martin Luther King, don't they? He's a womanizer, so we shouldn't make a statue for him. People say that too. Is that right?
Well, I can see we're not going to have a productive conversation.
No, because you're doing the same thing Republicans do whenever they're like, oh, he's got a bad side. People aren't complicated. And it was okay to have had death
so
squads.
Ortega's just complicated.
Well, tell me what it has to do with deposing him in 1982 or whatever year that was. Tell me how the two things are connected.
Look.
They're not. You don't have an answer because they're not connected. It has nothing to do with what happened in the 80s.
You win. You win. You win.
Okay.
Goodbye. Bye. Geez. Well, I guess if I want to call, all I have to do is mention Ortega. I swear I have it. Is there another caller there? Hello.
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 Hey, Lynn. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
I think this is more optimistic. I think we're going to have a filibuster change. I know a lot of people don't believe it, but I think this last vote walks the Republicans into a problem where the Democrats are going to say, well, hell, we can't work with them. So I think they're going to change the filibuster. I don't know if it's going to be, less people you have to have, but there's going to be a change. And we're going to get some type of watered down voting rights thing. I do believe that. When it's all said and done, I think things go behind closed doors that media doesn't see. Things are going on, and you see the show but in the back it's something different. I really believe that. That's the way it always is, seems in politics. So there's a game.
Well, I hear. Yeah, but we'll see what we end up getting, if anything.
I mean,
okay.
it won't be what we want.
No,
no. And I think we're going to get an infrastructure bill too. I think eventually it's going to be, watered down, of course, but I do think that.
Well, then see what look, Biden has already cut his initial infrastructure bill more than in half.
Right.
And they still won't even, they can't move. And, Manchin coming up with his own watered down voting rights bill. The guy who believes that there are like 10 good Republican senators there. And McConnell just flat out said, won't touch it. That was it. Won't touch it. How could Manchin still believe that there is any ability to deal with these people?
Right.
I don't know.
Don't either.
Anyway, I hope your astonishing optimism proves correct. I really do.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Hey, you too. I just want to say, in terms of the left, that guy pisses me off. I so hate any of these groups that tell you where you stand, essentially. This is what we believe. And if you don't believe that, you're not one of us. And it's why I'm not comfortable with the left in many respects. I mean, I won't call myself a progressive, because it seems to me that the word progressive was a word that liberals, who got nervous when the word liberal started becoming, a negative, that they decided, okay, well, we'll change our name. We'll be progressives. And I thought liberal is fine. I think it most accurately defines where I tend to fall in my reactions to stuff. But I'm never, ever a goose stepper. Somebody who marches in lockstep. I can't do it. I'm not comfortable in any organization. I'm not even comfortable in a group. And I have told you before, I don't like citing things with other people. I don't like singing with, I don't know. It's a quirk, an individual quirk. Boy, I really detest the certitude of so many. And I'm sure I come across that way too. Because, as the caller said, we're complex. God knows. Henry said, I received a PPP loan in the amount of $17,000. That's nice. Wow, Henry. I am technically a single person LLC. I am a one-person company who uses subcontractors to accomplish my work. I technically do not have a payroll other than to pay myself. My company, like many others, suffered in 2020. I cannot say enough about how incredibly appreciative I was for that loan, which has now been fully forgiven. So when I hear about people exploiting this benefit, I think to myself, how many little guys like me didn't get a loan because some selfish jerk took advantage. Oh, a lot. And you know the answer to that is a lot. The big guys walked away with millions and millions and millions, whether they needed it or not. It was, you hear, they're giving out free money. And they have the means and the muscle to know how to get it, while the little people are scrambling, looking around saying, how do I do this? How do I do this? Henry's P.S. is good. When you pick out a gravesite today, will you tell them what you want on your headstone? Let's take suggestions from the audience. All right. I'll take suggestions from the audience. I'll take suggestions from the audience. I was actually talking to my mother about this for her headstone recently. And I thought, in our family plot in Green Bay, none of the headstones have anything, they're all just, pro forma Jewish headstones. So there's Hebrew writing and also some English and the date of birth, the date of death, yada, yada, yada. But I told my mom I thought she should have on hers, one lucky woman. She thought that was a grand idea. Oh, how sweet, Bree. I don't even understand what you're asking. Lynn, can you ask people to go to YouTube and hit the subscription button? Okay, I'm asking you. Go to YouTube and hit the subscription button. What, for me? Let us get that number above 1,000. See, I don't even know where that is. Oh, sure, we should be able to get above 1,000. Come on, guys, go and click. Seriously, this is where my absolute inability to market this program and me throughout my career is just astonishing. Up here, and I don't know where to go with it. That's depressing. I've got so much stuff here, and it's so depressing. I can't. I'd rather talk about, headstones. That is less depressing. Actually, I think the cemetery I'm going to doesn't even have headstones. It doesn't. But we could still do that. I think what I might do is see if I could have a bench or some place where people could sit on me. See, I think I'm going and doing what's called a natural burial. So my headstone will be a tree that will be planted over me. Take me up into it. I just love that idea. I don't want to be in a box. I don't want to be set on fire. I just want to be put into the ground to do what every dead thing I've ever come across does, which is decompose. And then whatever's left, to have that, be taken up into some tree. I like that idea. And a little a bench where people can come and sit with me under my shade. That sounds like a good idea to me. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's it. God, this day is beautiful. I'm looking out my window and the birds are like, whoa, do you believe this? And I'm like, whoa, do you believe this? God, I'm getting out into that. So thank you for being there. And yeah, go to YouTube and hit the subscription button. Thank you, Bree. That was from Bree. He's over in Malaysia. He hit the subscription button. All right, you guys. In there. I'll be back tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.